Hey guys, what's up? This is Alex2K, and today we're going to talk about how to make a modeling shader. After you have your images laid out like this, and let's say that you want to begin to model like right away, there's a problem, which is that your mesh is not going to allow you to see what's behind. So if you try to do the nose, you're kind of screwed. And doing X-ray really won't help because it X-rays not only the mesh, but it also X-rays whatever's behind. So that's not really something that's too handy. There's a work around, which is to select the material and switch back and forth between its transparency. Which is something that's doable, but it can get tedious, especially if you have history. So what we're doing here is we're actually going to make a modeling shader, and it has a couple of good things. For one, it's a Phong, so that allows you to see highlights and determine shape better. And second, is going to have some hotkeys or some shelf icons so that you can switch back and forth. I already have one created because I use it all the time, and I got 3 icons: create a Phong modeling shader, transparent, and opaque. So and I made my own little icons too, just to make it more noticeable. But if I click here on shader and I right click on the object and say assign x6 to material, there it is, modeling shader. And then I can just switch back and forth between making it transparent and making it solid. So it's pretty easy stuff. And again, you can always hotkey this stuff, so it makes it even better. But for now, we're gonna keep it like that, so it makes it pretty handy. So how do we go about that? Well, what we do is, let me just first start by saving this scene. Save scene as Rudy. So let's make a new scene. So how do you go about this? You don't need to have a particular scene there. You can have an empty scene. If you haven't done Mel and you don't know very well how to read this script editor, then it probably is a good idea to say edit, clear history, or clear all. That way you have a clear script editor. That way you know which commands to take and you won't be making any mistakes. So we start by opening up the hypershade. And now that we have the hypershade open, let's make a Phong. And now that we have a Phong, let's rename our Phong modeling shader. Now that we have that, we're going to set some properties to this modeling shader, such as making the color a little bit darker, or maybe if you want it a little bit lighter, it's up to you. Also changing its specular color so that it's a little bit brighter, more noticeable. And you can take the cuisine, actually a little bit less than that, there we go. And you can take the cuisine power really big. That gives you a really nice and big specular highlight. And might as well take the reflectivity down so that when you render it, there's no reflectivity on it. And that pretty much makes the basic foundation of this. Once you're done, hit close, open the script editor, and you'll see that a whole bunch of attributes got created there. So we're just going to select them all and copy them and come down into the text area or input and hit paste, and you'll see that you have shading node as shader Phong. Anything that's inside those dashes or sorry, slashes, it's just outputs, so you can ignore those. And you can clean this up if you want. I can actually delete that and highlight this and delete that and highlight everything that's inside of those dashes and delete them, just to make it more readable. So there we go. So what it's saying is that it's making a new shader called a Phong, or a Phong, and it changes the settings for it, and then it renames it to modeling shader, and then it sets the attributes of the color and the diffuse and the specular color and the quiescent power and the I changed the specular color again, so actually I can just get rid of this first specular color if I want. And reflectivity. So that is pretty much the code to create the modeling shader. So let's just highlight all that, middle mouse, drag and drop it on your shelf. I'm gonna put it here on my customs shelf, that way it doesn't get confusing. So just middle mouse, drag and drop it there, and you'll see a mel icon. Right now we know that that means create a modeling shader. Now we're gonna set a couple of extra settings. Let's go back to the script editor, and if you want you can clear the history so that you don't get confused. And we're going to double click our modeling, we're going to double click our modeling shader to open the attributes for it. And what we're going to do is we're going to change the transparency and make it transparent. Maybe not 100%, but a pretty good amount. And then if you look at your script editor, you'll see that it's set. There's a couple ones you can ignore. Look for the one that says set attribute, and it's setting the transparency to 0.86, 0.86, and 0.86. So you can copy, you can delete this, and paste. So now, even if you want to change those numbers, you can, but we're going to keep it like that for now. And let's just highlight that line of code there, and middle mouse, drag and drop it into the hypershade. And the next stage is changing the transparency back down to 0 so that it's solid. So we can hit close, and now you'll see another set adder line that says set attribute 000, which means making it solid. So let's copy that and double click this and paste it here. And just make sure you have that colon, semicolon there. You know what? Let's just copy it here. Control C, Control V, there we go. Middle mouse, drag and drop it into the shelf. So now we have 3 shelf items. The first one makes a shader, the second one makes it solid and makes it transparent, and the third one makes it solid. Except that it's kind of hard to read and it's kind of hard to remember because they all look exactly the same, and if you keep the mouse on top of it, its help is not really helpful. So let's change those settings. Let's go into the shelf editor and label and tooltips, create a modeling shader, icon name, I don't know, SHT. The second one makes it transparent, make transparent. Icon name, we can say TRSP, so it's transparent. And the last one makes it solid, and the icon name can be, I don't know, SOL. Again, you can always change image and make your own images. So once you're done, save all shelves, and now there's your 3 shaders. Now if you hit transparent and solid, it's going to be pretty helpful. There's a way to allow for this to not make any more modeling shaders, because if you keep pressing, it's going to keep creating. But it gets too complex for someone that's just beginning to do this, so I'm just going to omit that and allow you just to remember to make this transparent and solid, and that should be good enough. In the case that you screwed up and you make a whole bunch of modeling shaders, make sure you hit edit, delete unused nodes on the hypershade. Edit, delete unused nodes, and that's going to get rid of anything that hasn't been created. So there we go, I just made it again, and if I assign it to an object, let's see this in practice and let's see if it works. Transparent and solid, there we go, it works like a charm. And if you click one too many times, remember, after it's assigned, edit, delete unused nodes is going to save your life. Alright, so until next time, My name's Alex2K, and good luck. Bye bye.